Hello? Is anybody there? Are we live? I should lower this music a bit. Boom. It's okay. Okay, buddy. I mean, I had to put it. That's the only thing people are saying on the Discord. At least people are talking in the Discord. You know what I mean? Can we get some 2K my peach on the chat, please? That'd be amazing. Like, just spam it off. Take your anger. Fox with the titles. Yes, sir. I mean, Dark is here. We can do a what do you call it? A second 1v1. It's okay, my pony. My unicorn. By the way, I heard you weren't using code Fox in the item shop. Uh-huh. You should definitely use code Fox in the item shop. You know what I mean? Dr. Phil will find you. What's up, Doc? What's up, Slotty? Mr. Final Smash, how's it going? 2 ARs. What's up, Justin? You play 2K. 71 ping. GG's. What's up, Awesome Kobe? You're playing Animal Crossing? I haven't... Alright, what is Animal Crossing? It's like just an open world game. Because I've played it a long time ago on Wii. Only one time. Didn't they release a new one or something? What's up, Sound? Welcome to the live stream. 1-1v1? Okay, buddy. You know I'm trash at 1v1ing. We can do a tournament or something today. It's not for money or anything, just for fun, I guess. My ping decides to collaborate. I'm using the correct Wi-Fi? I don't think I'm using the correct Wi-Fi. I'm gonna have to fix my Wi-Fi after this game. I am definitely not using the correct. Is the live stream lagging or are we chilling? Alright. Let me see something. Because I don't think I'm using the correct Wi-Fi. Connect. Oh, I am using the correct Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is just trash today. Not yet. I'm doing homework. Alright. Alrighty. We good? Alright, nice. Honestly, I need to buy my own Wi-Fi or something. This Wi-Fi just does not collaborate. Look at this. 101 Wi-Fi. Pink. What is up, chicken? Chicken moderator. There's someone over here. Why is this on? Holy, I've never seen this game lag so much. Is he looking at me from this far away? No way he's looking at me from this far away. Oh my gosh. My ping trash. Someone's over there fighting. I'm not gonna tear party though. Shooting at me? You're a Matsu. Why would I do this? I don't know. I should just bring it down here. This guy's gonna steal my supply drop for sure. The heck? He's standing there. He's lagging so much. It's either me I'm lagging. I don't know why I'm lagging that much though, at all. I normally lag, but not this much. I will take this. So close to what? Oh, to be in the top leaderboard. We appear to find a contester. You wanna call this 200 IQ? You know what? That's not gonna work right now, right? I need to go through all the seats just to go over there. Just to go to fly it. That's kinda tough. Are we doing customs? I don't think we're gonna do customs today. I think we're gonna do like a tournament or something. I don't know. I do not know what's happening today, to be honest. I'm 7 coins away from top 10. Interesting. Very interesting. Ah, this is a bot lobby. Poor guys. I'm just lasering them. It's actually bots because they're not even expecting me. It is a bot lobby. Oh, I need to change my thumbnail so it's actually... Alrighty. Oh, there's a fight over here. I can't fly my thing and play at the same time. Alright, here we go. Oh, this is just a launch pad. Alright. Am I in correct servers? Because I didn't even know my ping is so high. Yeah, I am correct servers. Maybe the Wi-Fi is bad for everybody. Or is your guys' Wi-Fi bad? Or is it just chilling? Because I'm thinking maybe the guys who fix the Wi-Fi, who work in the Wi-Fi place, are quarantining. So the Wi-Fi is just trash. My Wi-Fi has been pretty bad, to be honest. But there's a lot more people connected to my Wi-Fi this time. So I don't know. Mine's decent. I don't know. That's just a thought. We have a contester. Apparently we have a contester. Where you at? Where you at? You wanna... Look at this aim! That guy is also pretty sure that guy's a bot. Can bots fly helicopters? So that's kind of interesting if they can. Mine's good. Oh, so okay, never mind. My tier is wrong. Buddy. Okay, buddy. This is what I mean. I'm just trying to get some stuff. You want to see 200 IQ? 200. I'll show you 200 IQ right now. Okay. Never mind. I'm not gonna show you 200 IQ because I'm going to die if I show you 200 IQ. That guy's a bot. He just lasered me. Oh my lord! Look at the aim. I'm gonna get high ground so I can laser you. Or RPG. How you like that? I would literally RPG again if I have to. Just watch out. Where you at? RPG! I almost died. What's up, Frosty? I'm gonna get sniped right now. Pretty sure. Alright, we're chilling. Fortnite Battle Royale. Yes, sir. Use minis. Minis are for the weak. I use big pots only. Small people use minis. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. Is that a guy right there? Is that just a chest? Oh, there's kits. Somewhere over here. Right over here. Coming in hot. Chopping the trees. I should have rocked double RPG. My RPG wasn't even reloaded. Is he over here? Knock knock. He's gonna be here like camping. He's gonna be like hiding. He's gonna one pump me. I'm about to hit this big pot. Are you gonna try to no scope? No, I'm not gonna try. I need to win an actual game because I never win games anymore. This guy lasers me. I'm trying to pop a mini. Big pot. Oh my god. It didn't register, you see? I shot it, didn't register, I'm gonna die. You're welcome back, Link. I don't know, why is my Wi-Fi just so bad? Should I try to no-scope the sniper? But, well, I only try to no-scope when I have a big heavy sniper. Well, I can't even add it. My Wi-Fi is just giving up on me. I swear to you, this Wi-Fi. Yes. No, I can't. I can't no scope today, cause I'm gonna lag to Wi-Fi if I try to no scope. I can barely no scope when I have like normal ping. Now I have 50 ping. It's not gonna be a good experience. Lagging crazy. Maybe the server. I don't know. My stream is not lagging that much. It lagged a bit, but now it's not lagging that much. So I don't know if it's the game or my Wi-Fi or. I see a challenger incoming. Oh, he got sniped so hard. Okay, I would like to fly this thing, please. This is the biggest bot lobby I've ever gone to. No offense. They're not even trying to hide their bots. That's the greatest C4 right there. If you take my kill, buddy. Where are you at? I'm about to get third partied. What is... I thought I popped the... I'm dead. This thing is just lagging way too much. I'm out. Try to laser me, try to do whatever you want. I'm out. I'm lagging like crazy. Use brick? I should use brick, that's a fact. I don't think I have a bind to change, do I? I don't have a bind to change my brick. Never mind. I think I have auto change material or something like that. Try to laser this kid, eh? This is like a lob. You're so... Okay, there. This is a bot lobby, but, they laser you. I'm gonna just tell you that. Do I have enough time to pop this? No, I do not. So I'm just stay a kid. I want to use the launch so bad. But there's a launch pad over here. Is there? No, never mind. Can change my YouTube profile, yeah. So I'm gonna have to remove you from a moderator if you can't change your YouTube profile picture. That's the #1 rule of moderators. They need to change their profile picture. All moderators should use code Foxy. A profile picture has code Foxy. I'm joking. It's okay. You have your other account. Why don't you use your other account? Your account that you post montages and those things. I'm gonna try to use my... That kid kill himself. Oh my gosh, this lag. This kid right here, and I think he's low. Show yourself. Open. No way, that did just not work. I was about to shoot. I was about to die over there. Chill. Oh my god, I'm lagging so much. Yeah. Oh, he's over there. I'm sorry. But I had to do it. Oh, we got a heavy sniper. I think they're telling me to... No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. I need to get at least a win. I don't think I've... You no-scope the last kid? I've used code Fox forever. Forever and ever. Forever and ever and ever. Alright. I'm gonna die either way, but we'll send it, eh? My ping is just 50 right now. We'll do a quick send. I'll even try to build that thing to no-scope. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna try to do that because I know I don't know how to do it. Oh, I see. The other guy's somewhere over there. He's somewhere over there because this thing is over there. His heli. Look at him. Alright, they're gonna focus on me. That's what's gonna happen. I see what's... Alright. I don't know if that kid has a sniper. I don't know if he doesn't have a sniper. I don't think he has a sniper. Where you at, kid? Yeah, he might have a sniper just by the way he's... What does he look? He's looking down, isn't he? Or am I... What the heck is he doing? He's trying to edit something? Oh, I thought he was looking down. I thought his backpack was his face. Can I do turn it tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe. Where you at? Oh, literally... Oh, okay, buddy. That was so bad luck right there. Should go to zone. I should third party them, and then we should chill. I need to get high ground. Oh, I see him. Oh, what the heck? Alright, give me 2 kills over here. I wanna kill that cat first, to be honest. I'll let them kill themselves. Alright, right there. Here comes the no scope. If I die, I don't care. Because this is more for the... Okay, buddy. Who say you can go out? Did he leave? Actually, he didn't leave. Okay, I was about to say. Who say you can just leave like that? That's the funniest thing. I just blocked him. Another one. You gotta fight me. There's no way to escape me. Oh, okay. You can maybe escape. I'm lagging so much. Imagine he has another. He doesn't even know I'm here. Reloading. Reloading. Wait for me. He has another one. Imagine. What the heck am I building? We land the no scope on you, friend. I almost died there. It's right there. Alright, you can't be in the blocks if I'm trying to no scope you. You gotta go out. I'll let you go down. I'll give you permission to land. Oh no. Oh, I landed no scope. GG's. Didn't even give me a fight. I love how I broke the 2 launch pad that he was trying to use. That's so sad, poor guy. That was the best part. I blocked the first one and then I broke the second one. Just cop the dog harvesting tool. Oh, you got? Oh, wait, let me see the item shop. Hopefully the item shop doesn't lag, you know what I mean? Never know these days. Alright, what do we got? We got a 90. Oh, we got a new emote. That's pretty clean. I like that. Animated. This is what Chicken looks like when he finds out he's not gonna have school tomorrow. Wait, no school tomorrow? We're not having school tomorrow? Alright. Alright, I'm gonna change my Wi-Fi. Just restart my not restart my Wi-Fi, just change my Wi-Fi on the thing. Just to see. I know, right? Exactly. Alright, let me change my Wi-Fi 1 second, and then I'll switch my accounts also. Hopefully I'm not gonna... I normally like to leak my Wi-Fi information, but I am sure I'm not gonna do that today. Okay? So, disconnect from this. Clear settings. Okay, delete that. Search for new Wi-Fi. Where's it at? And I'm gonna do the tip that I did on my video, eh? Because I restarted my Switch for some reason. It wasn't working. So I restarted my Switch. I think it cleared all of my settings. That's why it's super high up. I don't know. Don't you love that song? Beauty. Screen is fire. Yo, thank you. The other one is better, even the one that Zelda made. The meme one. That's great. That's a great one right there. But I'm not gonna put that because we're not doing customs right now. Alright, now we go to settings. 1 second. I'm gonna switch my account so we can do some zone wars, and then we'll do some zone wars to like warm up, and then we'll do some like tournament, I guess. Alright, DNS manual. I need to... 1 second. I need to consult my video to remember what were the numbers. Because I forgot. 1 point... I don't even know. Alright. Oh, not again. Okay. Alright, there we go. Perfect. Alright, this works. That means my video is 100% the best video for Fortnite tips. Then if my Wi-Fi is better, my ping is better after this. We'll find out right now. Switch my accounts. Alright. What's up, Nick? Welcome back. The title? Should I change the title? I already changed the title. What the heck? I put the title... Wait, was it the title 2K My Peach? I'm pretty sure I changed the title. What the heck? Did I change it back? I don't know. Fortnite, Nintendo, Switch. 2K My. I thought I changed the title to that. I don't know. It might be a little crazy. What the heck? I need to see that. You can't even hear the music on the background in the stream. Alright, Link. Amazing speech. Exactly. What's up, Bottom? 2K's best girl. For sure. I don't know what that means, but for sure. The moment you realize you're not using the playlist that's not copyrighted. What? You're using a playlist that is copyrighted? Alright. Alright, let's get it. Let me see. Should I run? Create. Yeah, we can do yours on Mars. Let's start with the small one and then we'll do yours. I should have copped the new emote, the one that I said. The no school emote. Kind of a strange emote. I don't think it should be like 200 V-Bucks. I don't think it should be 500 V-Bucks. It's not only one motion that he's doing. It's not even... I could probably do that program, to be honest. I threw my Switch charger to a wall and it still works. Nice. Good to know. It's wall-proof. Switch chargers are wall. At least you didn't throw your Switch or your Joy-Con. Yeah, I got the X from the challenges. I don't have challenges because I don't have the battle pass. Apps in the chat for that, but we'll be vibing. I might, but I don't know if it's too late to buy the battle pass. I just don't want to spend more money on the game. So I'm trying to get as many V-Bucks as I can, because I need like 200 more V-Bucks and then I can buy. But I don't know. Or maybe it's too late to buy the battle pass either way, because I need to grind. What are we doing? Or right now we're gonna do some zone wars, and then we're gonna do the tournament. I think we should do. I have an edit tournament. I have the edit code, the code for that. I saw Cypher PK doing it. I want to try to do that because I'm pretty insane at the editing, of course, right? That's so strange. YouTube changed something on the website. For sure. Can we join? Yeah, you guys can join. Join up, join up. Let me change something over here. Wait, can you... Is it open? Is it open? Hopefully it's not... no. Alright, let me just change something that I'll put it public. My ping is still high. What? Alright, someone broke this entire thing. First of all, not cool. Now I can try to restore it, but I don't know when I backed it up. So this thing might restore 200. That's almost a year ago. Not really, but alright, whatever. We'll do it. Restoring as when yeah, whatever. I don't care. Do it. Just do it. Hopefully it doesn't like put everything blank. It might do it, and honestly, it might put everything blank. Oh. Oh. Ooh. So now we're chilling. Now I need to remove permissions because somebody messed up this thing. Foxy, fuck. Okay, buddy. Tick, I'm tick. Alright, buddy. Permissions as in everybody. Oh, that's why. Play, 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 play. Somebody, some of this guy, someone over here changed it. I think it might be this guy. Because I know this guy's R3. I don't know who the heck this guy is. Maybe he changed his name. I don't know. Alright. That's good. Now, wait, what the heck? Somebody joined the game? Please don't. No, I'm not going to start the tournament yet. I'm just changing something and I'll start it. I need to do the same thing with my other island because somebody messed up this island. Oh, wait, do I have my old island? Cabin floating island grid. It might. I don't know. I need to check for that after. Foxy's almost. Beans is lucky? What do you mean? His aim is just luck. Chicken tick. Okay, buddy. And someone also broke this one, but I don't know if I backed up this one. That's just toxic. Why would you do this? I wish I could know who did it. Like, this thing took... It's not... I'm just gonna back it up. I'm restore it. But that's toxic. I didn't know why people do that. Tools. Restore. Alright, let's see. Hopefully it restores to the thing. Honestly, I guarantee whoever did this was chicken. For sure. Alright, delete all of that. And I'll restore it, please. 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 Oh. Oh. Going in. Going in. Going in. See, I am 200 IQ. I back up everything. 200 IQ. What the heck is this? Alright, let me check. Everything's good. We're chilling. We're chilling. Perfecto. Is this chilling also? Got the sprays. I don't mind the sprays. You guys can spray there. I think we are chilling. My island. And I can remove the permissions. Play, private. Island permissions, everybody, private. Alright, boom. Perfect. Alright, let me open it up. We can use this map, I don't care. I haven't used this map in a minute. It took us a long time to make. Put the game to public, yeah, just did. I don't know how much this thing is gonna lag. Hopefully it doesn't lag. But this is a great map. Just by the way. My ping is still trash. I don't know why. Why is my... I might have to try to restart my Wi-Fi and restart the stream, boys, because I've never seen my ping like this high. Well, never mind, I've seen it, but it's kind of annoying. It's not... At least it's not 70, it's like 45 right now. 47, 45... Where's the music at? Hello, fellow creators. Okay, buddy. You know what? Do you have this emote? I don't think you have this emote. What's up, Omar? Have you done that new challenges? I have not. I don't think you have that emote, eh? He wishes he had this emote. He wishes he had this emote. Oh, I don't think you have the same one. Oh. I didn't even know I had that emote, to be honest. Turn to 7 minutes. You need a chat. It's... Well, I don't know. I'll say that. I'll fix the coins. I know it's chatting for sure. That's how I know. I need to fix the bot for coins. I might do a stream one of these days on Twitch because I want to see if there's any difference. Because the problem on YouTube right now is that let me show you. I'll show you the problem on YouTube and you figure it out. So let me see. I'm just a viewer, a normal viewer, and I'm going to watch some Switch gameplay because I love Switch, of course. Where's my display capture? Alright. So I go to YouTube. I'm in my YouTube page. I have a bunch of recommended stuff. What the heck is that? So I search Fortnite, Nintendo Switch. Go down, okay. Then we put it on live. Let me just show you, okay? We're live right there. Like, look at this. First of all, there's like not even switch. Nope. Nothing of this is switch. Nope. I don't think my live stream even appears in here. It doesn't even appear in my live stream over here. So I don't even know. I don't know if I have my tags correctly. I need to figure that out. If I don't figure it out, I kind of want to stream on Twitch one time just to see. I'm not going to switch to Twitch. I just want to see if there's any difference. And you guys weren't seeing anything. Alright, nobody. Like, you search Fortnite Nintendo Switch, you put it live, there's like not a single Switch player. And I'm sure there's Switch streamers. But it's only like fashion shows, which I thought they were that, to be honest. It's like not a single Switch player. My live stream is not even when I search for the Nintendo Switch. So I think it's something with my tags, or I'll fix it. We'll see. If not, I want to see you on Twitch, because on Twitch, I know people don't do those things on Twitch. Nobody does like fashion shows on Twitch, or they barely do fashion shows on Twitch. Am I ever gonna do a face cam? I don't know. Maybe. It's not letting me go in. Are you in the? I have you added, right? Pretty sure I have you added. This is the game. Imagine. I don't know. I don't know why I have this thing. The lobby, the little lobby. I don't know how that happened. What the heck? This map might be bugged. Just want to let you... Respawn. Respawn and it works. I need to fix that. I need to remove that little thing over there. Kind of useless, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna definitely try to restart my Wi-Fi though. Oh my lord. It's not letting me go in still. Wait, were you able to go in? Link. Okay, buddy. Kinda wanna... Should I play on PC? So then I don't think I have to restart my Wi-Fi if I'm playing on PC. We got a professional player over here. This is Sweat Chicken Sway. What the heck is he doing? He's trying to write something. Oh my gosh. He's doing a heart. Should I break it? That gonna be kinda toxic. I'm not gonna break it. He's doing a heart. He just go once. Oh, that's not even. Ah, I thought that was chicken soy. Sorry, thought that was chicken soy. It was chicken. If I know it was you, I wouldn't kill you. Chicken soy would never do that. Yo, what's up? What the F? Welcome to the live stream. Can you play? Yeah, join up. Send me a friend request if you haven't already, and I can put you right in. My ping is. Oh, that. Need to reload. This is all his builds. This is all his builds. What the heck? You're so low. Don't even try to pickaxe me. You're so low. He's trying to pickaxe me. Oh, now I'm low. I just phased through the entire thing. GG's. It's broken now. What's up, Best Mobile? Hello, can I play on Switch? Yeah, you can play. You guys can join up. Just send me a friend request. Type exclamation point epic on the chat. What's broken? Is the game broken? Right. Oh, I see the heart. Yeah. Let me break this thing down. Oh, it's connected. That thing's oh, okay, buddy. I'm trying to see the heart. What do you mean? You sent me? All right, 1 second. Never mind. All right. Trying to fix this over here. Alright, let me accept it. Right there. Should be. Did I get it? Alright, we reach out. Perfect. The heck? That's the useless thing I've ever done. That was bad also. Let me third party real quick. Oh, you take fall damage, I think. Pretty sure, if I remember this map. What the heck? What am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing right now, Chief. I have over 500 plus skins in my boba account. Yo, you need to show me some of your skins. You got like some OG skins? Come on, push me. I'm lagging so much. For the... I don't know why I'm lagging so much. Holy. Can we do box fights? Yeah, we can do box fights. I don't know if it's the map. I'm just lagging so much. Alright, one more thing I'm gonna try to see if my lag goes down. 1 second. I I can't play with 70 ping. I barely play good, and now it's 70 ping. You added me, accept. Alright, let me accept real quick before I do this. The heck? Alright. The heck? No. Alright, I accepted you. You should be chilling. Ha! I blocked the copyright song. What's up, Panda? Yeah, you can play. Just send me a friend request. I'm just changing my Wi-Fi, but my username is official Foxy HT. I'll type it right here in the chat. 1 second. Right there. Alright, I'll pin this here so people can actually see it. Alright, let me see this Wi-Fi is better. I have season 4 stuff and 5 and some skills and rare emotes. Oh, nice. Pretty clean. I did it connected. Hopefully this thing improves my Wi-Fi a bit. It's always good to have better Wi-Fi. Change that. Alright, we're chilling. Alright, hopefully my Wi-Fi is a bit better. I'm gonna probably have to restart the game, boys. I'm a good streamer. Yo, thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm restarting my game. Hopefully this doesn't lag. That would be truly amazing. Alrighty. I need a Coke, a cola, dude. Coke. I don't drink Coke. I don't drink anything with carbonite or whatever the carbonite drinks. I don't know what you call it. Sprite. I don't drink any of those things. I am clean. Yo, quick plug. If you guys want to join the Discord, so you guys don't have any stream delay when I'm talking, you guys can join it up on with the link. You send me a friend request. All right, I'll accept it right now. Yo, quick question to everybody who's joining right now. How did you guys find me on YouTube? I just want to know because I'm having an issue. I just want to know. Did you guys search Fortnite Nintendo Switch? Or was it just recommended? Still doing Star Wars? Alright. Oh, what the heck? Pink. Alright. Let me see. Creative. And let me. I'll accept your friend request once it loads up. But water's better. Yeah, water's better. Recommendations. I looked up Fortnite topping. Scroll down. Just search for creative. Alright, check. Alright. Chicken doesn't even have the subs on. That stuff. That stuff. Imagine being a mod and not to be subscribed to me. That stuff. That's how you know your content is. Alright, I'll figure that out for next stream, hopefully. My tags issues. Exactly. Exactly. Alrighty. They're gonna load. Hopefully I don't get a bad ping. That'll be amazing, my ping. 54 ping. The same thing. Whatever. Honestly, whatever. I'll just play it here. If it gets too bad, I'm gonna restart. Yeah, it's 60. It's the same thing. It's my Wi-Fi then. Oh, is it 35? Can I read? Oh, it's 30. It's not even that bad. 40. That's honestly not bad. 35. Not bad. 34. That's not bad. I'm happy with that. All right. Let's do box fights and then we'll do then Mr. Final Smashes Worlds. My game just crashed. My game was crashed. It wasn't crash. It wasn't just. My game was not loading, so I had to restart my Switch. I think it's something with the Switch servers, or I don't know. Yo, shout out to Fishy Phantom for subscribing. I've been waiting since last year to 1v1. Maybe I will 1v1, maybe. Alright. Send me a friend request. Alright, got you. Let me accept it. Alright, you should be chilling.
Oh, I'm watching the same skin as me.
Oh, yes, sir. My ping is at 20 right now. I'm chilling. Oh, I had to reload.
Got the Foxy.
Imagine getting lasered. Father kill chicken. I got you. I got him. I got him. Don't worry about it. I got him.
You just sprayed up Foxy.
I did spray him. Yo, what's up?
You think your thing is bad? I have 94 thing.
94. Yeah, that's tough.
I have 40. Foxy.
No, chilling. We're chilling. That's a
Are
verse.
you the only skin that wears that one?
Me?
This? Yeah, in this.
Yo,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe sometimes other people use the same skin. Can we do customs? If we have time, we can do some customs. What's up, chicken?
Is that chicken?
Yeah, that is chicken.
oh no.
Oh.
What's up, sir?
Oh, I'm dead.
Chicken.
He's trying to pickaxe me.
Foxy Dino.
Foxy, come on, you got this.
That's a good player right there.
He's at 50 HP. Oh. What's your clutch?
GG's. Alright. Oh, that was you? Yo, you shot me. You got me low. I was about to die to the storm
Oh,
after.
you're right in front of me.
Everyone, leave it.
Yo, looks like you're not connecting your switch. It looks like you're just not connecting your shots today, chicken. Your shots are just not connecting today. Okay, buddy, chill. Somebody has echo or something in the background.
You're just lucky, that's why.
Oh, what's up? What's up?
Yeah.
Alright.
My ping is like at 500 right now.
My ping was at 70.
My ping was at 500.
You're playing on Xbox, so your ping is not even. Ping is like kind of pro. Really.
Xbox. Xbox.
Xbox. You guys double team? Oof. I'm teaming up with this guy over here, I think. Oh, GG's.
Hello?
That's AFK and the fish guy. What's up? The fish guy.
What? Yeah. How are you?
Nice. Nice.
Imagine being so garbage.
Okay, buddy. Don't be toxic.
Imagine talking like that.
Tim, join him. What? Who is that? It's me. Okay, join him.
Yo, GG's. That was a good
Join
shot
who?
at me.
In this game.
GG's.
Who has
Wiggy.
like parrots in the background?
I don't know.
We need to
Parrot in
kill
the
them
background.
rooms
What
off
do you mean?
right quick. Them feathers.
Somebody left.
Uh oh, they're all looking at me.
Oh my god.
Let me just clap these people.
Okay, we'll see about that one. I keep on putting con on top of myself.
The streamer said we'll see about that. Foxy.
Oh no, what?
Oh, what the heck? The lag?
How many subscribers does he have?
Yes,
I'm bad. I just killed myself right there.
That's nice.
Oh no, I should use my pump. Yo, what's up, Cosmo? Nice time now? Yo, thank you. I should have used my shotty. Oof. What's up, Mako? Welcome back. You got down to 3 HP. Yo, that's...
nice. Oh, no.
It's pretty low. I should have... Or I don't know. I was getting pushed by this guy over here. Yo, oh, never mind. Settings. Edit. View. Docs. Oh, behind you. Uh-oh. Oof. This guy's cracked. View collection tools.
Imagine this guy winning.
Dude, I did not know there was another guy left.
GG's, GG's.
I did not recognize.
Alright.
Oh, this guy made this map. Foxy made this map.
Yes, I did. You wanna use the code?
Yes, I have a box.
I lasered him. I don't know if he's trying to team up or anything, but I don't know. I'm not gonna kill him.
This map is kinda hard.
It's kind of laggy. Getting pushed by literally everybody right now. The heck? Can I reset for a second? I might have to change my reset button because I can't reset too fast. Oh, that's Silva. He's trying to pickaxe me. I'm dead. Nah. Why? You killed chicken. Fox, look at my last message. Let me see.
Rajit, are you there? Rajit.
Rajit.
Rajit, hello, my friend.
Hello. Hello, how's it
How are
going?
you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good, that's good.
Very good, very good. Let me see, let me read messages. Foxy, if you can look at... Oh, wait. Where's your last message? I was introduced to the term stream sniping, and it sounded fun, and I looked it up on Twitch. That's how I sold my soul to the best stream ever. Wait, what?
I love you, whoever that
Stream
was.
sniping? You're carrying him with 22 kills?
Oh,
Nice. If I'm going down, you're going down. Oh, and yeah. You're trying to pickaxe me there, Chief.
my loadout is messed up.
Get this mats, scoop some of this stuff up. Good. Oh, I third party that so hard. Oh, what the heck? Okay, buddy. Okay. Okay, that's what we call okay, buddy. Okay, okay. I see what it is.
What?
I killed you. I killed you 2 times. You killed me 1 time.
Shut up. I will eat a cat and dog. Shut up.
What the heck? Oh.
Oh, wait, you're so bad.
Don't be toxic.
I could do whatever I want. Shut up. I'm kidding. I love you.
Okay, moderator.
No.
Soon not to be moderator.
Always a moderator. Once a moderator, always a moderator.
Okay, I removed a bunch of moderators, so I don't know about that one, Chief. Don't know. Yeah, I saw you were focused. Yeah, something's wrong with my stream on YouTube because I literally searched the exact title. Let's see. Doesn't even pop up. Need my last message. Wait, Foxy, I just came back. There's a tournament today, or is it just gonna be tomorrow? We're gonna do. Maybe we'll run a quick tournament. Well, maybe we'll run a quick tournament. Should we do an edit tournament though? Instead of a 1v1 tournament, we'll do an editing tournament. Or do you guys want to 1v1 tournament?
There's no edit one.
I found an edit one. No, don't kill me, buddy. Okay, I can't deal with 2 people at the same time. What the heck? Oh my thing just... What are we doing? Okay, I kind of third party that's so hard. And I don't even know if they're trying to kill me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to whoever did that. I'm sorry to Dragon Ball, the other guy. Can't even bloom. I bloom. Yeah. Wait, is that chicken? Yeah, it is chicken. He's protecting someone? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Kind of pushed that too hard. My bit. Oh. Trying to pickaxe? Oof. Alright, we'll do like...
Foxy, remember me?
That's... Yeah. Wait, who's that? Is that chicken again?
Nah, it's obviously.
No. Oof. My bad.
Yeah, I was in your...
Oh, nice.
I forgot that time. Your custom match.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I can forget.
Sorry, it's okay. What's up, Extreme? Can you join? Yeah, just send me a friend. I think I already have you. So, yeah, you just can just...
Oh
I'm
yeah,
that.
that's the stream that you said,
Okay.
prank some kids, and I said, okay, let's do it.
Oh, yeah, with the...
Yeah,
The Indian.
yeah.
We did Zone Wars, I think, at the end, alright?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I remember that. What's up, Josorio? Welcome
Remember
to
that
the live
since
stream.
that was yesterday?
Hmm?
Remember that? I remember that when that was yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Please do a 1v1 tournament. Alright, we can try to do a 1v1 tourney. Speaking Spanish.
No, I didn't.
You probably turn your mic off.
No.
What's happening? Let's do my map. Alright, we'll do your map and then we'll do a 1v1 tournament. So, after this, everybody go back to the hub.
I like this drama.
I already have 1%.
I like this. Did he just say I like this drama? Okay, buddy.
No,
Hey, Foxy.
Yo, what's up?
Oh, what?
You know 4
Ah,
languages?
yo gané.
Blue flame.
I know a few languages. Just kidding.
Yo
Do I know a
gané.
few languages?
Sí.
I like this drama.
Blue flame, can you join me, please?
I speak all the languages with Google Translate. Oh, it's Bloom
Oh,
Battle.
look at this. Oh,
Yo, what's up, that one kid? You didn't get your noti? Yo. It's all good, it's all good. You're here.
Sorry, my
It's all good, it's all good. What's up, Huts? Foxy Miss Huts, welcome to the live stream. No, you're GG's. Alright, everybody go back to the hub. We're gonna try one more map, and then we'll start one, like, a 1v1 tourney
Oh,
or
by the
something.
way, Foxy, you said my name.
I said your name?
wow. Wow.
I'm Foxy Sides.
Oh, okay. Yeah, back to hub.
Yo, Fox, do you like my combo?
Let me see, what's your combo?
No, I don't like it.
Okay, buddy. Is this you? With the... Oh, that's a clean combo.
Yeah, this is me.
I'm the soccer skin.
Oh, it's soccer skin?
I was,
Yeah, that's a
I was
pretty
the
good combo.
Minecraft skin.
Okay, chicken. Honestly, I'm gonna ban you from Fortnite, chicken. I'm gonna ask you guys to ban.
What? No, please.
All right, let's go. Let's go to do Mr. Final Smashes World.
That bot ass man. I'm kidding.
Why are you so toxic?
I don't know.
All right, mini battle royale. We're doing a 1v1 tourney after.
No one started yet.
Yo, I'm gonna go to the hill over here, right?
Stop.
Bro, what is this?
Hey, what is this?
This is a mini. Okay, buddy. He probably knows how to build better than you.
Oh, this is a mini.
Probably does, you know.